Joined by Republican presidential candidate Senator Rand Paul. Senator Paul, the race in Iowa, your staff says there's going to be a big surprise there. Where are things in your campaign?
You know, we just announced 1,000 precinct chairs, which is a pretty significant effort. We don't think any other campaign really has announced that many precinct chairs. We think we may well be the most organized campaign in Iowa, and that's somewhat unheralded if you watch the polls. But really, a caucus is about turning your people out. It's calling them, getting them out. We're planning on getting a lot of college students out. We've organized all the college campuses, and our goal is 10,000 students, and we're going to try.
The New York Times has a headline on the front page today that it says, quote, "For Republicans, fears of a lasting split as class divisions erupt." Do you think there's something larger happening in the Republican race that's not just a competition of candidates, but that there's a real change going on in the Republicans?
There's a disconnect between many of the Republicans in Washington and the grassroots. And I lectured my fellow congressman and senator till 3 a.m. saying, drive outside the Beltway and you'll find that no Republican really wants us to raise the debt ceiling without significant budgetary reform. And see, we did the opposite. We raised the debt ceiling an unspecified amount and we gave up on the budgetary caps. Not one Republican outside the Beltway supports that. So that's a real disconnect. If you see Republican leadership working with President Obama to raise the budget caps, but it's because some on the right want more military spending, some on the left want more welfare spending, so they both get together, we raise both, but as a consequence, we have a $19 trillion debt.
Is there a way to fix that disconnect that you're talking about? It seems pretty bad.
Term limits. Really, there needs to be more turnover in office. And I think if you had that, all of a sudden, people would be more enthused. And I think that's why the Republican electorate is looking for outsiders, because they're tired, basically, of everybody in Washington saying, "Oh, we can't do anything. We have the power of the purse, and we're not using it. We control the House. We control the Senate. We're not using that power."
You mentioned that you said Ted Cruz is eligible to be Prime Minister of Canada, but in all seriousness, do you think he's not eligible to be president?
Well, the thing is I think all experts agree that he was naturally born in Canada. And so the legal question is, can you be naturally born in Canada and also be considered to be a natural-born American citizen? And it hadn't been decided. The eligibility for president is a constitutional eligibility. It's not statutory. So there's no question if you were born in Canada to your mom's an American, you're a citizen. But they use this unusual language in the Constitution of natural born, and I think it will be brought up. I mean, Congressman Grayson from Florida is already saying he's going to challenge it in court. I think the Democrats will challenge it at the very least, and I think it'll have to be decided by the Supreme Court.
You think it'll, and what happens if it's not? I mean, are you saying voters should see this as an impediment to Ted Cruz as being president?
I don't know, but I think it'll be extraordinary to have that. If he were the president, he would be the first president not born in the United States. And so that alone would be extraordinary. And so people have to decide for their own minds whether it makes a difference where someone is born.
This week, the Senate's going to bring up a piece of legislation you're sponsoring on auditing the Fed. Why does that matter to a regular person who may not follow this issue?
Well, people talk about income inequality a lot, and I think some income inequality is really related to Fed policy. I also think our major recession in 2008 was caused by the Fed, by keeping interest rates below the market rate. The housing boom was stimulated, but then there was no reaction to slowing down the housing boom by interest rates rising. Interest rates are like the price of money. They're like the price of bread. Prices go up and down to give information back to the economy. But if you're sending the wrong information, we get into these boom cycles, but then we have significant busts. And during the bust, the Federal Reserve actually bought foreign banks, bought assets of foreign banks. I don't know where we ever gave the power to the Federal Reserve to own foreign banks or to bail out foreign banks. They're still bailing out the banks to the tunes of tens of billions of dollars. And I want to know how they're doing it, who they're giving it to. I want to know what assets they hold and whether some of them are still troubled assets. So it's oversight, it's transparency. It passed in the House with every Republican and 100 Democrats. That's really bipartisan. We're hoping for the same thing on Tuesday in the Senate.
But so your argument is if interest rates are not reflective of the actual situation, you have this bust that hurts regular folks.
Yeah, and what happens is interest rates are kind of like insulin. When you eat a big meal, your blood sugar goes up, insulin rises, and then it comes back down with the blood sugar. It should be the same for the economy. As an economy heats up, there's more competition for the money. The price of interest should rise, and it slows the economy back down. But if you keep the price of money or interest too low, you keep getting the signal and the economy rises without end, but eventually it bursts in a very tragic way like it did in 2008.
All right, Senator Paul, thanks so much for being with us. Good luck out there. We'll be right back with our analysis from our political panel.
Thank you.